It's fight night on Snowpiercer, and Leighton continues his investigation into the murder of Sean Wise, which now has a drug connection. Hey everyone, this is Scott from Forgot to Grow Up. Welcome to our Snowpiercer Season 1, Episode 3 Thoughts video. I just finished watching the latest episode of Snowpiercer, and I'm just going to be sharing my general thoughts on the episode. So like I just said, it was fight night on Snowpiercer as a way to distract from some of the problems that they're encountering now after last week's episode when the cattle car was hit by an avalanche that caused a whole lot of damage and a lot of problems on Snowpiercer that they're trying to fix, but they haven't been able to get to quite yet because it takes time to fix these things. So they've implemented or decided to move up fight night to this week's episode in order to distract the second and the third and second class passengers and the first class passengers, all kind of to give them a distraction away from these problems that they're going to be running into with rolling blackouts, less power, supplies being a little bit tougher and a little bit more limited. So yeah, this was kind of an interesting way to kind of set this episode up coming off of last week's episode and this damage. I like that they kind of address immediately that they have to do something to distract the people and to distract the passengers, and in order to kind of keep the calm amongst the passengers, because that's all you're doing on this on Snowpiercer. You're just trying to keep everybody calm. If you get riots going on, it's like, oh no, we can't have that. So I really enjoy the way this kind of starts off with that. There was this fun little comment between Leighton and Melanie at one point where he refers to Snowpiercer as a authoritarian state, and she's like, it's not an authoritarian state, and says something like that, and he's just like, okay. And I just love that line because it is so funny, especially when it's like, lady, you decided to move up fight night to control the population of passengers. What's not authoritarian about that? But I just do love that. Melanie obviously has this idea, because she is Wilfred as well, that she, isn't, that she's only helping these people, which she is, but she doesn't recognize the fact that she's also, oppressing a certain chunk of the population as well. So I do kind of enjoy the kind of dynamic we explored in this episode, and then the drug connection that they kind of explore to Krill. I can't remember how to say the exact name, but this new drug that has been around in the tail for a bit that now only that now only the brakemen are discovering, and that the Wilfred employees are only just now learning about. And so this investigation has that connection to that. They learn that it has connection, that the drug was actually developed from the drug that they used to keep people in suspended animation in the drawers. So there's a whole connection here, and it all ties back up to Nikki, the person who was wrongly accused of the first murder that Leighton is now also trying to clear up. And so she was the one in the drawers all this time, but we also kind of learn a little bit more about her, and not learn more about her, but we learn via her that that's the connection to the drugs, is that this suspension drug is what it's being turned into, this new street drug that people are using. We also kind of learn at the end that she seems to know the murderer of everybody, because he just comes in and starts killing everybody, which I was just like, whoa. I don't just jump into the end, but I was like, whoa, okay, all right, Mr. Bodyguard dude, just beat everyone's skulls in for nope. It's not like you can escape. That's the part that I find fascinating about this. He just murdered a room full of people, and it's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna go hang out first now, pretend like nothing happened. No one's gonna figure out that I'm doing it. It's not like there's a detective looking into this case now. So I thought that was just ridiculously weird. But anyways, some other interesting things about this episode is we learned a little bit more kind of about how they have access to different sections of the train with this access chip, which we then see Leighton at one point. I missed how he got a hold of one of these, but I'm guessing he picked it up when they're in the room with the drawers. But he gets an access chip and is able to transfer it to Josie via a kiss. So I love that he's still, he's playing both sides of this by still, investigating this murder to, keep him getting access to the front and the different sections and learning more for the tale, but also at the same time he's still doing his, he's still trying to help the tale as much as he can. So I like that he's kind of doing both. He's not half-assing his investigation. He's still trying to figure out who's murdering it, but he's also using it to his advantage to, to learn more about the train and to learn about how him and the other tailies can, eventually get more, a little bit more space than one car at the back, which they considered maybe letting go, which I thought was interesting actually, because Melanie does say, so it's suggested to Melanie at one point, and it's actually 2 times in this episode, that they just get rid of the tail because that would save them energy. And it's just like, oh, Melanie's just fine with keeping it, or not fine with keeping it, but like she has more resistance to being like just not like I thought she'd be a little bit more like that's something I'll consider. It seems like it's not even a possibility in her mind. So that was an interesting thing to learn in this episode, being like, oh, I thought that was going to be something we might have to invest. I thought the tailies were going to have to try and do something to defend against that, but apparently Melanie just decided you just can't get rid of the tail. So that was interesting, and I'm kind of hoping we explore that a little bit more to see maybe if there's some reason, maybe because that's one thing I've always found interesting about this premise is that they're really upset about these, the tailies being there. And yes, they even mentioned in this episode at one point that the front needs the tailies as a form of labor when they, when people when people die or something along those lines, and they need new apprentices and etc. So that part made sense to me why they need some tailies, but it's also like you also have first, second, and third class, so you could just convert third class people into tailies in a sense. But it was interesting to me to see that, like, or learn at least that it seems that there's maybe more to the reason why the tailies are kept, or why the first class and why Wilfred people keep the tailies around more so than just the labor needs. So I'm curious to see if we'll investigate that a little bit more. Is it possible that they need every cart attached in order to run properly for Snowpiercer to run properly? I'm just little things I'm spitballing that I thought were just interesting that popped up from my head from her just having this little being like, no, we can't get rid of the tail. So that was just interesting, I thought. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this episode, using Fight Night as this distraction, and then having to try and investigate while this event is going on, and this distraction, and just seeing how Melanie / Wilfred kind of manipulates the passenger and the passengers and the population of the train. So I'm just really enjoying this show so far, and like liking this premise, especially considering you're stuck on a train, so it's like it's really interesting to me to see the different things they're coming up with to make it pretty interesting to keep going with. So I'm really enjoying this so far, and I'm very excited to check out the next episode. But what did you guys think of this episode of Snowpiercer? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. If you're curious about more of my thoughts on Snowpiercer and other TV shows, I've linked my TV show thoughts playlist at the end. Be sure to check that out. But thanks again for joining me today. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and have a good one.